So you'll notice on page 16, I want to lead you through some steps here. And so I'm on 4A there. It says, identify a non-volatile issue that is bothering you. So I give some examples there. It may be a staff member not preparing well for a sermon or message, a poorly led meeting, someone not being thoughtful during a difficult conversation, maybe a volunteer not being truthful about what's happening inside their ministry. Maybe it's a board member's hurtful remark, or maybe a co-worker's hurtful remark. It may be someone showing up late for a meeting. Maybe it's behavior at a weekend service that is not visitor-friendly. A coworker not answering your email. Now, I was just trying to give you some examples to think about. What's interesting for Phil, we first were dealing with his issues. Now, obviously, the pattern that he was doing with Myrna is happening in lots of other areas of his life. And so we had lots of food to choose from. But the first two issues we had really weren't, this wasn't the right tool for that. Remember, there's 8 tools. And tools have different purposes. So, for example, one of his was about Rich, and it had to do with, he'd sent Rich a couple of reports of his weekly report, and he wanted to meet with Rich about some benevolence request. And so he was a little upset that with Rich, like Rich didn't get back to him like what he wanted, but he never was clear like that he'd like a response by a certain time. Like he never was clear about what he was asking. So it really was a mind reading issue actually, and a lack of clarity. He wasn't speaking clearly and directly and honestly. He was kind of beating around the bush, hoping people would get the hint. So that knocked that issue off. Wrong tool. And then he had a lunch meeting with Red. He said, let's meet for lunch. And so Red said, sure. And so he shows up at 12 o'clock for lunch, and Red's not there. But he never said, he just assumed it would be 12 o'clock. Because that's when Red generally has lunch. So he calls Red up, and Red says, I'm not coming until 3 o'clock today. And so he was starting to use a ladder of integrity for that, but then once we dug into it, I said, well, and Jerry just brought him over to Red and said, Red, did you know you had lunch with him? Red says, I knew nothing about that. I mean, it was a very funny moment. But do you understand, it wasn't an integrity issue because he never communicated clearly that they were going to meet for lunch at 12 o'clock. Red didn't even know. So there are some things that are just, we're not speaking clearly and directly about what we're asking, and so the person maybe doesn't do it, but they don't even know they were supposed to do it. So this was obviously about a value, and the value was not that she violated his Sabbath. The value was himself not being truthful and honest in relationships. So you understand, even if Myrna pushed back on him, it doesn't matter, because it was about him. Like if Myrna said, I don't forgive you for lying to me, I think you're a jerk. She could have said that, right? But she didn't. But even if she did, it's okay. I mean, the great thing is the tool set was good for him. I mean, he had a huge breakthrough, a life changer, hopefully, for him and his leadership. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of an issue. And I want you to write down the issue by completing the following sentence. So the person's not in the room, 98% of you. Right now, the issue on my mind is, and you need to complete that. So I want you got to identify an issue. That's the key right now. And disrespectful startup, you'll notice right now the issue on my mind is that you don't care about beginning meetings late. That's disrespectful. No, respectful is right now the issue on my mind is that our meetings start later than the agreed upon time. Okay, that's maybe the presenting issue here. Meetings starting on time. But I want you to take a few minutes right now and see if you can think of an issue, of a value that you have think of something that's bothering you. It's something that's getting under your skin. It's annoying to you. And maybe you're not even sure exactly what it is. Because generally it's a value being violated. I want you to try to think of one. So here's some non-volatile issues that are bothering you, maybe different than staff. It may be lateness. It may be cell phone use or social media. It might be the way someone drives. Discipline of kids with the spouse. Messiness in the house. TV, computer, how much that's on. Holiday plans. I mean, it could be, so even on a family issue, you could have some things here, as well as church. So again, the goal here is not that you're going to resolve something. We want to just give you a chance to try the tool out right here. Okay. Who doesn't have one yet? Something you've written down, raise your hands. Okay, good, a few of you. You're going to keep your hand up. I'm going to ask our coaches. We're going to go and help some of these folks, because identifying an issue is sometimes challenging for some folks. So if you don't have an issue, raise your hands. I want everyone to look too. Okay, all right, great. Okay, the rest of you, you're set. All right, here's what I want you to do. You folks that don't have an issue yet, you're going to come up here. We're going to help you out, all right? So Cheryl, maybe yourself and some other folks from New Life. Hey, Rich, maybe Kelly, come on up here, and Peter. Let's try to help these folks. You can grab them over here too. And I want you to get with a person, a neutral person. You'll notice in your instructions here. Find a neutral person. So not if it's with your spouse, don't do your spouse right now. But meet with someone whom you don't have the issue with, to practice, and you're going to go up the ladder of integrity. I want you to go up the ladder and decide who's going to go first. You're each going to take a turn, and you're going to tell them, you're standing in for my neighbor, or you're standing in for the person who leads the children's ministry, or you're standing in for this leader in this ministry over here. And you're going to ask permission, and you're going to go up the ladder. And you start from the bottom. Right now, the issue on my mind is, and you articulate it. And my part in this is, and so you'll notice, my need, my feelings, the issue is important to me because I value. Number 5 has a star next to it on purpose, because that's where you want to get to, the value. The issue beneath the issue. Phil's issue was not Sabbath. That was really not the issue. And then I'm willing, not willing, and you'll notice how it goes up. You may hit a sentence stem that doesn't apply to you. You say, this doesn't help me. That's fine. You skip it. But at least pause for each one. And because they're meant to help you look at the issue from many angles and to help you get clearer on the inside before you talk to that person. All right? Okay, so you're just asking this person to stand in because you're going to get clear. Phil practiced this with he practiced it with me right here as a neutral person before he talked to Myrna. And okay, so I'm going to give you, you're going to have about 14 minutes for this. So I'm going to send you off. For those of you, just form groups of 2, and you're going to take turns. And again, I want you to go up the ladder, which is on page 15 there. Okay? Those who don't have an issue yet, come on forward and we're going to help you. Or